Greetings from Maholic Outdoors. Actually, I should say good morning from Maholic Outdoors. It's about 10:30 on Sunday morning, and we got the rain we needed, which was a real plus. That was a blessing. I don't know, like 6 o'clock last night, give or take, somewhere in there. Like a half an inch of rain, I think, in the rain gauge. So things look greener today. You can just tell they're a little happier. So I am down back. So last year I made a video on my apple tree right there, and there's a stand up in that oak. So this is, I call this the Spruce Plot. A number of years ago, now, my kids, when we first moved here, I want to say it was 2008, 9, somewhere in there, we planted about 100 Norway spruce trees in this plot. And I think I'm down to, probably less than 20. By the time you run them over with a tractor and hit them with some Roundup and burn them with some fertilizer, they come up missing. They get out-competed by the grasses. Bugs. Oh, they're bad this morning. They're really bad this morning. They just end up coming up missing. So this has turned into about, it's like 0.7 acres. Might even be a little bit smaller than that now. It's, they've kind of taken over, and just, it is what it is, but it's, oh, is it nice. And I like this style of food plot because there's another stand. No, there's a maple tree right there. It's about 30 yards wide. Now it does widen out right here, but that apple tree gives me the focal point, and my big cornfield is right here. So they come kind of from the valley, they come from the woods. I've created some bedding right over here. You don't know which way they're coming, but typically, you know they're coming. If there's apples on the ground, that's a hard sell. They're not gonna, they're not missing those. So I have some other apple trees planted in some cages. I'm not really, I'll be honest, I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm not much of a tree guy. I got the farmer gene, I guess. So, thus my food plotting endeavors. So I'm standing smack dab in the middle, and you can see it, of two different crops. This one is the Horn Honey blend from, it's now Deer Creek, it was Briar Ridge. And this is my Maholic Outdoors bean and buckwheat mix. So I'm gonna spend some time on both of these today. I brought some notes. I wanted to make sure that I went back through my Nutri-Rise and Blue Fuzz combination again with some actual numbers. There's a lot there. It's much like teaching. Once in a while, you need to have a little note card to make sure you know exactly what you're saying and that you're being accurate. So let me start with this one. It doesn't make a difference, but let me start with this one. So this is a mix that I've kind of concocted with the help of a student that I had about 30 years ago. 25, 30. So I'll be starting year 34. So it's been quite some time. But what we're doing is this. Now this isn't going to be, this was drilled. So ideally when you do this particular blend, it's tilled and there's no thatch on the soil. So I've mentioned a lot of conventional tillage. This one is typically no-tilled. I no-tilled this clover last June, truly with my planter, no-tilled it. I said to myself, I can get away with this because of how much moisture we've had. This May was wet too, and this is why many of my crops are still a little shorter. They were planted late. It is what it is. The farmers didn't have a choice either. So here's what you're gonna see. The idea of this is when you till it, and you can see, I don't know if you see the dirt down in there, but nonetheless, my drill will rough it up enough where, and I'll show you some boo-boos. Like this doesn't always work out just right. When you till up your soil, you're gonna have that dirt base. And when you plant your buckwheat and your bean mix, ideally the buckwheat screams out of the ground. It kind of acts as, I don't want to use the word nurse. And if I use the word cover crop, I don't want you to think it's like a true cover crop, like a clover and a rye and a brassica. I want you to think of this as a cover. Like it is, the deer come through here and they cannot find the soybeans. That's the idea of this. When I say there's nothing better, I'll show you when I go to my next plot, Press Box West. And I learned this a number of years ago, that if you can have a green standing soybean, and if you mix it with a brassica blend, they're gonna pick the soybean before they pick anything else. Again, why I plant so many soybeans here. The pluses are huge. It's just, you have a spring crop that now takes all summer to grow, and you can watch it and take care of it and make sure it's going to do its thing. I planted my one plot 3 times here just a couple years ago. It's been so dry that it's just a fight, and it never took. The weeds took, and it just didn't take. So if you look, here they are. They're gently underneath the buckwheat. Okay, there's your soybeans. They're kind of hidden. There's some other things in here too, but that's there. You'll see this was a clover plot. My goal is to come through now. When you fry this buckwheat with glyphosate, you then broadcast over top, and the soybeans are left standing, and then you have weed control. It'll melt the buckwheat, just melt it. But you still have those standing soybeans. The problem with planting soybeans late is, if it's dry, they are not going to do a thing. They're just going to sit there, and they're not going to do anything. But this acts as kind of a cover where you can see them. Look at them. They're down in there hiding. Right, they're right there. They're hiding. Right there's a soybean. But I'm giving the deer, here you go. You want something to nibble on? And I can tell you where they're standing right now. They're not eating the buckwheat here. I planted buckwheat years ago. I got the same result. I'm not going to tell you they haven't nibbled something, but overwhelmingly they are not. They are, however, in the horn honey clover. All right. So let me come back to this. Make sure I hit this. This comes in a 50-pound bag. It's buckwheat and beans. You want the beans to grow. It's going to be a number 1. I don't care if they produce any pods. That's irrelevant to me in this particular situation. The other ones are totally different. But this is your cover, true cover, your hidden crop right here. It's hiding your beans. You do this, ideally you would have dirt below it. You then fry it. I have an overseed mix. You then come in, you blast your overseed mix. I don't like doing that stuff. And I tell guys, if you want to throw seed on the ground, go ahead. But this is the design of it. It's kind of I don't have the time. It's kind of a poor man's plot. I don't want to I don't want to run everything over. I want to leave this stand. I want the soybean standing. The only problem is, if you get some thatch on the ground, let me come over here so you can see this. If you get a lot of thatch, like this here, this is a good luck, right? Right here, you can see all the thatch. If you do have some soil, if you do have some little bare spots, then you got a better chance. But you're going into it knowing, right? You're not replanting, you're not retilling, you're broadcasting, and you're walking away, and you just keep chucking seed at it. But my overseed mix for 5 pounds is like $30, and it's all brassicas. It's mostly kale. Again, you look at a bag of spinach or kale from the grocery store, it has your highest nutritional value. So that's what I want. And again, standard typical brassica rates are anywhere from 6 to 8 pounds an acre. Mine is 5, knowing full well I'm just throwing it on the ground, and I'm kind of praying for the rain to work it in and for it to come up. So that's my bean and buckwheat mix. It kind of stems from, no pun intended, it kind of stems from the buckwheat craze that's gone on for a while, and buckwheat's great for your soil, and I'm not going to, that's it. It's just the whole buckwheat thing is, I would rather spend my time growing a soybean that they will not only browse during the summer and have pods in the winter than grow in buckwheat. It's just, now in a small plot, remember, this isn't the plot that changes the farm. This is the plot where you have close encounters, right? This is your little kill pocket, whatever you want to call it. All right, so what's next? This is Briar Ridge horn honey clover that was drilled last year. And one of my biggest complaints, whatever you want to call it, is my deer will not eat chicory. Well, they're eating it now. And I can tell you what they eat. They like the stems. The leaves, there's some leaves that are nibbled on, but for the most part, it's the stem. Why? I don't know. Is it the most moisture content? Right? There's a reason why. Do the leaves taste bad? There's like fuzzy things on the back of the leaves, and I don't know. Maybe it's just not palatable. I don't know. Now they will eat it when they're starving. Like I had some up around the house on one of the field edges I was playing with, and when it was December, if it's green, it's like they're eating it. So, but this horn honey plot was mowed once. It is a good looking plot, and you can see they're eating it. I've only mowed this one time. They are, oh my good, yep. They are really hammering this. Now, what does this particular clover plot get? It gets my premier legume fertilizer. And what I did is I wrote down some notes. There's a lot to this blend, and I wanted to kind of go back through it. I had someone reach out and ask me about it, and I'm like, it's really a pretty specific blend. So I'm going to go back through. So that particular blend, my premium legume blend, is a mix of two things. It's a mix of something called Blue Faz, which is relatively new, and Nutri-Rise. So chemically, component-wise, that Blue Faz is 28% phosphorus, and it actually has some nitrogen. So don't think that legumes do need some nitrogen. And this one has 3% N, 28% phosphorus. It does have 7% calcium and 9% sulfur. The sulfur has been one of my studies here in the last couple of years. I noticed it in my corn, and it all came back to sulfur deficiencies. So if you look at how everything is nibbled on. This is the clovers, everything is I don't even have to mow it. Now, it also has, Blue Faz also has some micros. Now remember, this is a homogeneous prill, which is it's a cool word. It means everything is wrapped into one pellet. It has zinc, boron, copper, and manganese, all in one pellet. And so basically this combination, it's a patented product. It protects the phosphorus from getting tied up in the soil, and it also has plant extracts. And what that does is then it stimulates the beneficial organisms, your microorganisms around the rhizosphere, the root zone, and it helps uptake the phosphorus. So this is like the technology in the fertilizer through TMAC Agro. It's good stuff. Now on the Nutri-Rise side, this is your K. This is a 0035. It's 4% calcium, and again, this is a homogeneous prill. It's 6% magnesium, manganese, and 3.2% sulfur. So it has another special, it's called the MBA complex. This one is the one that stimulates the mycorrhiza fungus. And when your roots have more interactions, the plant is healthier because the root mass is bigger. And it's all about taking up more nutrients, specifically phosphorus and zinc. Even though this is the K, this is all about making your roots healthier and your plant above ground healthier. This one also gets Humiflor. Now this is the one I want to take to field one, but I'm going to talk about it today, right here and right now. So Humiflor would be good for pastures, especially like a horse pasture that's close to the house with lots of manure that you can't get broken down. Humiflor helps stimulate the microbes in the soil to break things down. So there's a couple things. I'm going to go in a couple directions here. I put it up in my first field because I have a lot of corn residue, and I want to really test it. I put bags, more than the recommended rate. But it's supposed to help break down organic matter, which would be, anything your duff on the soil. And it has a more readily available calcium. And it's from marine bed deposits. It's not mined from the earth. And when you look at the pictures of it, it has a more porous structure. But it comes from like seashells and shelled creatures. My goal is because it's supposed to have a more readily available calcium is are they getting that? Right? If in Pennsylvania you are not allowed to, you have to have any mineral, which you're allowed to right now, but you have to have it up 30 days prior to the start of the season, and residue. So if I can get this as my mineral plot, right? This is my mineral plot. It's getting my premier legume fertilizer. It is getting Humiflor. And maybe, and just maybe, I don't know this, but I'm going to test it, right? Just maybe this is why they are, in fact, they're actually eating the chicory, which is, to me, it's almost amazing. I'll be honest. It's just, when guys come into the shop, I'm like, I can tell you what they eat and what they don't eat, right? They don't care for purple top turnips here, and they don't care for chicory. So the only way you can do this is to scientifically test it, right? Send it to a lab. I'm going to send it. I'm going to do leaf tissue analysis on it. I'm also going to do forage analysis. I think with the forage analysis, I'm going to cut everything. I'm just going to chop it, dry it, put it in a bag, and send it, because I want to know what the entire package has. So with the horn honey clover, there's a Ryan XL Ladino, which has a huge leaf to it. There's an intermediate white. There's Allcyke. There is a red, and then there's chicory. I'm not a fan of chicory. I'm not. But I tell you what, it's working. And the question is why, right? And it's just one of those things. And sometimes you may never know exactly, but at least you get a feel for, like, this is where we are. But the Orion XL Ladino, if I can find some of the leaves, they're distinct. They're about the size of a $50. They're just giant, but it looks like it's pretty picked over. So this is a fresh clover plot, like from last year. This clover that I've drilled through with my planter, my Casco planter, it was on its last leg. It was starting to get weedy. There's some dock growing. It's this big leafed weed right there. It's a dock. You can buy all kind of plant apps. But this clover, I'll just come through here, in a couple of weeks. Deer flies. This is looking pretty brown. This is clover that I just overseed every year. When you start getting the roots involved, they kind of pull some of the moisture, but that is a giant oak tree, drops lots of acorns. I got some other oak trees. There's that stand. Let's see. It's in that maple tree right there. I've shot a couple coyotes from that with my bow. That was pretty cool. The turkeys love to come through here. But there's a little road they come out of there. There's a little road they come out of there. They come from the creek flats up. But the focal point is that apple tree. That's the focal point. So I love to make some scrapes, and you'll see there's some grapevines hanging there. They love to rub their faces on that. I've left some branches there, some oak branches. So when you get into some of this stuff, this is the fun part, the thrill of the chase. It looks good. The buckwheat has jumped with that rainfall. Boy, did it shot it right out of the ground. Everything was just sitting, waiting for something to drink. So and it's one of those, it's what a guy won't do for a deer, I guess. But, right, it's fair chase. It is what it is. And it's fair chase, right? It's the thrill of the chase. It's the work up to it. Now, for what it's worth, I spend all of my October hunting over food, whether it's a food plot. I'm hunting over food. And here, what I have found, because I have everything set up in the center of the property, I want them to come to the center, come to the center, come to the center. When November hits, I'm especially mornings, I am in the woods. I'm in the woods. But the leaves have got to fall first. That's the key. The leaves have got to fall. And so I have some videos coming up. Bugs. I have some videos coming up where I'll show you that. So I don't want you to think I don't hunt like the woods. I do. But I'm extremely picky as to where I hunt them, when I hunt them, why I hunt them. I've learned, you don't. Now, I can tell you some other things, right? This is the experience part where you've been burned. You're like, This is that apple tree. If there are apples on the ground and it's an evening hunt and the doe are an estrus, like this is that second week they're tied up together, where she goes, he goes. If there are still doe coming into this plot and there's apples on the ground, I will forego the woods and I will probably, I tough it out. I do. I know better, but I tough it out, because as soon as I go in the woods, if she is in estrus and he is behind her and she goes to the apple tree, he's following. That's all there is to it. Those are tough lessons. So there's a story behind that one, and that's a tough lesson. So, but I stay out of the woods. I do. I keep my path simple. They talk about entry and exit. You know, that's all you hear anymore is entry and exit. But it is, and there's so much truth to it. I don't want them to cross my boot path. It's not the bucks, it's the does. They're the ones who are going to just ruin your party every time. So there's some guys online. There's a couple in particular, one that really talks about, you know, activated carbon and so forth. And I have it in my water filter. I have a 20-inch Big Blue carbon filter in the basement that takes the odor out, and you can tell when that thing is junk. So my boots get doused with carbon. My breath, I take a lot of time on my breath and making sure that I'm not eating spicy potato chips and Doritos and things like that. But those are the ones they're going to get you on, is your boots and your breath. Those doe, they'll walk through the woods, and if they hit your boot track, they'll just stop and start looking around. They know. It doesn't matter if I've walked out here all summer or not. They know. So, well, words of wisdom. There you go. Hey, you know what I didn't do on purpose? Is this one. I've said in my corn videos that it's like, hey, I intentionally do this. That's a screw up. And I'll show you. This is where, when you start packing, see that? When you start packing weight on your drill, right there, what'll happen is, well, to break through the soil, you've got to have enough weight on the drill. And so what happens is the seed tubes get crinkled, and then the seed gets kind of stuck. And there it is. You pick the drill up, and then they come down at the bottom of the tube. So it can be a fight. It is what it is. It didn't just do it once either. It did it a couple times. So it just depends on how much weight you have packed on to break through your soil. So on this side, this is my Mahalik Outdoors bean and buckwheat mix. On that side is horn honey clover with a substantial helping of my Blue Foz Nutri-Rise combination, and then my Humiflor gets added. So the proof will be in the pudding, or in the science test results when I get it back. So it is a great plot. This is a fun one just to sit. So some new apple trees there. And this is the apple tree that gets all kind of love. It gets more stuff dumped at the base of it but it's flowering, right? What it used to be an every 2-year kind of flower is now it's every year. So my products might be working. Well, there you go. A beautiful food plot in the making. So I'll make some decisions here pretty soon as to where I'm going, and maybe I'll just drill down through some of the bare spots. I don't know what I'm doing yet, so, but it'll all work out, I'm sure. All right, words of wisdom. If you need anything, reach out. Be more than glad to help. Complete line of fall things in stock, that's for sure, at least at the moment. So, what a beautiful morning. Clouds are, for the most part, pretty clear. The sky's clear, a little bit of clouds. It doesn't look too smoky. I guess it's coming back, though. So, words of wisdom from the food plot. Kevin, Mahalik Outdoors.